Hi, everybody, and welcome to another fantastic night of Relics of War. I had to stop and think. I almost started reading plot point behind my head. I'm like, well, it is plot point, but which game is this? This is Relics of War. We're broadcasting on Dark Galaxies Gaming tonight. I see some people are already jumping onto that rolling for dice thing. Obviously, that's the fun new one. For those of you watching, you see new backgrounds, but you see familiar faces as well, with the exception of Claymore's player Eric, who's running a little bit behind tonight. I think he's planning on trying to imitate the famous Sam Riegel and see just how he can slip in. When that happens, our cameras might go a bit wonky, but at that point, I'll just take a moment and rearrange. So let's say hi to our fantastic players, the best players on the internet, and we'll go right from the top down. We'll let Arya, who plays Ionia, on, Brock, who plays Benoit, and then Kitty, who plays Lythander. Take it away, Arya. Say hi to everybody. Let us know what's going on for your week, what you're looking forward to tonight.
Hey guys, I'm Arya. As mentioned, I play Ionia, the warlock with a cheerful disposition and a love of nature. My week's been pretty good, been pretty busy, been doing a lot of work and having to travel a decent amount for work. So I put in 12 hours today. I'm kind of on the tired side, but really looking forward to some D&D to kind of end the day in a nice way. And I don't have any work tomorrow at the moment, so like that's kind of a nice way to say I can stay up late, play some D&D, not get up too early tomorrow.
And what do you just all right? Great. Pass it off. You guys hand it to each other. You don't need me to sit here and hold your hand.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm Brock. I'm playing Benoit, half elf, half Goliath. Kind of misplaced currently, wandering around trying to fit in somewhere. It's been a busy week already here. Worked all weekend. Started back to school this week. It is finals week, so got to knock that out. And looking forward to next week, which will be spring break. I did want to pass on some amazing information. I got to attend 2 church services this week, Sunday and Wednesday night. And this one here decided to accept Jesus Christ as his Savior.
Amen. Congratulations. You must be so proud as a dad, and he must be overjoyed just to have that relationship started. Congratulations. Fantastic.
So the church thing is going well, and definitely want to continue with that. So
I take it your Wednesday night was Ash Wednesday service?
Just a standard Wednesday service,
okay.
Bible study.
Well, I know not all of followers of Jesus Christ have that. That's why I asked the question, because I never try to make any assumptions. And wrongly, I was like, oh, I take it it's Ash Wednesday. Well, I guess not. So there you go. And DMs do just the same thing when they think, oh, look, well, an elf, your character is going to act this way. And then the players are like, yeah, that's not
Nah. That's it here.
I'm sorry, I am a drow. Quit trying to make me all happy and singing songs in the woods. I shall burn you out. Burn down your cities, as I have had one drow player do. Speaking of which, let's go on to the next player. Kitty, tell us what you're looking forward to. Tell us how you're doing. Tell us about your week. Have you done anything exciting this week, or has it just been boring?
I feel like that's a loaded question. I have done exciting things this week. I have gotten my YouTube channel up and running. It was a long time coming. If you just type in Kitty Doe into YouTube, you'll find me, because like I'm the only thing that uses the term Kitty Doe right now. So I post storytime animation videos, and I'm in the middle of an animation challenge. So all of that is fun. What?
No, you're fine. I'm trying to don't interrupt her. I was trying to put up a sign, but that background thing is stealing it away. Go ahead, keep going.
Otherwise, what I'm looking forward to tonight is finally being on the surface. It's good to be at Surface World and to like have what I would consider a typical D&D session. I'm just excited to be out of there.
There we go. See, if I get rid of my background, I'm just going to have to remember to be able to do this. And then I can do things like this, which I was going to say. It didn't work. It's kind of like, I got to look at the other screen. Not as easy to do this as viewers might think, hold it up the side and get it centered on your camera. Because I happen to know which
camera to focus.
Well, for those of you who do anything with OBS, you're always cutting screens, which is why our players, and it looks like it's actually off over there, and I have to adjust it somewhat for those that are watching online. So you have to constantly adjust different things, and part of it's not adjusted really well as we speak. I'll be fixing that here in just one moment. I see that Ionia is overlapping her boundaries, but that's really what Ionia does. She just leaves the boundaries of every nation she's in and overthrows the ones next to her, as her people, which got wiped off the face of the earth, have been known to do. So
we were mighty warriors of some kind or another.
Artists obviously refuse to stay within the lines, to color within the lines. Let me see, where am I at with that? I don't know, I'll find it here in a second. Boom, 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 boom. There we go, that got rid of some of hers, but not really the whole thing, and I don't want to make Barack look really fat. I'm playing around for those.
I am.
So, I'm kind of weird doing this online. So for those of you that were wondering, you might have already figured out we're doing a really soft start for tonight because Eric is running behind, and we happen to know this in advance. So what we said was, well, if Eric's running behind, what can we do to help him out a little bit? Well, we can help out. Oh, there's that. That works. And then, which one is this? Okay, that should already be up there. That works. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Now when they're looking on the stream, you guys aren't all over each other. So my apologies about that not looking right before, but I think it looks pretty good on the tower now. We had an exciting climax at the end of last week here at Relics of War. As Kitty mentioned, they were able to get to the surface of this dungeon world that they've been in, which appeared at the time to be filled with these beings called the Haruf, which were dwarvish and appeared to be somewhat undead-like. So they get out from this, which achieved them the monumental time of level 3. Which is a beautiful thing in the D&D world for those of you that are new to the game, who are not familiar with it. At level 3, you get to pick your subclass. So you start off with major classes like monks and fighters and all this stuff, but then you get a subclass at level 3, which really kind of says you're of age to get some extra abilities, some extra meat and potatoes. 5e is really well balanced that way. They do it all the time, kind of like every other level, something big is coming your way. Subclass is one that you're really trying to look forward to. So I want to let each person talk about theirs, what subclass they picked, why they picked it, what they think it's going to do for them, and how it really fits the characters that you've been watching now for multiple sessions. And because he speaks so much, I'm going to let Eric start it off because, you know, Eric has just talked to you this whole time, and oh, I guess he's still going to be silent for a little bit. So we're going to skip right over Eric, and since, well, I already started once with Ari, let's pick somebody. Let's go from the bottom. Kitty, you tell us about which one you picked. Tell us about how it fits your character, but then you pick who goes next, whether it's Brock or Ari. I'm going to start making you guys do more independent picking out. So go ahead and take it away.
All right. So for Lysander, I picked him being not a thief, which is like the thief class. I think they call it the thief class. Yeah, it's the thief class inside of the rogue overarching, but it's the not a thief version, which allows him to have uncanny dodge and fast hands, and I believe second story work at 3rd level. All exciting things for him to not be stealing from other people with, just to help him, you know, obtain goods faster for the group by whatever means necessary. Other than that, he got a 5 for his health, and with his constitution at an 8, that meant I got to add 4 health onto him. Much excitement. And then I accidentally rolled again, which was a 1, which was terrifying. But other than that, I don't think there's anything else that big that happened for him other than, you know, like all of the giant ability stuff. Yeah, nope, I think that's it.
So basically you're telling us that the character you really want to play is massive, massive thiefiness.
What I am saying is, if you can't catch him, you have no proof. I will pass it on to Arya.
All right, so Ionia is total character level 3. She has not gotten a subclass yet because with her coming from the fighting background and the fact that I intend to build her to have the subclass Pact of the Blade, she's very much built around being this warlocky soldier whose strengths come primarily from having sold her soul to acquire certain supernatural gifts, as a warlock does. But she was drafted into the war before she became a warlock and sold her soul and all that. So she started with one level of fighter and is proceeding with warlock classes afterwards. So she's a level 3, but she's a level 1 fighter, level 2 warlock. She doesn't have a subclass yet.
And then you get to pick?
Well, there's only one choice.
Yes. So pick the one choice.
Take it away, Brock.
Here you go.
Man, I could have swore Eric was going to be next. Okay, so as Benoit reaching level 3, I have decided to go with the monastic tradition of Way of the Grasp. Basically, he's going to be using a lot of hands-on, hands-only, trying to steer away from the weapons more per se, in his search to become more along the lines of not necessarily a pacifist, but along those lines, trying to seek a more gentle way, a more, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess just, more nonviolent tradition. Try to
non-bloody, maybe. I don't know.
Hear that. But at level 3, I now can grasp an opponent and use them as a shield. So that's pretty.
It doesn't have to be an opponent, just so you know. You can grab an ally.
Well, I can grab anybody. Yeah.
Well, you can only grab the ally if you can actually grab them. I don't think you'll ever be getting Lythandra as a shield.
Nah, I'm leaning more towards Claymore.
He's big and bulky.
You know,
I'll make a good shield.
For those that are watching on screen, we actually did put it up. Our players might not be able to see that unless they actually have the stream window open. But I did put the Way of the Grasp up there since it's custom and they might want to see it. And I'm thinking, while that hasn't been revised for about 2 years, and it went through, like, the version up there is 5.31, it went through a lot of revisions as we play tested this at multiple tables. But none of those tables did we have Warforged. And I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, I might have to give Warforged a advantage on that roll because they are huge and bulky. And while you are playing a Goliath, which is automatically huge and bulky, which gives you twice the carrying capacity, which would play into this, I don't know how to offset that. Or maybe there is no offset. Maybe it just works well as it is. Maybe we should just play it out and let it go. Wow, I never did anything with my hair tonight. You can tell I was on the computer, so whatever. All right, very good. We're going to make that, turn that invisible again. Bye-bye, Way of the Grasp. And everybody's just getting the basic screen. So, again, we have new backgrounds in store. This will be my turn since Brock didn't pick me. I'm going to pick myself and say, what am my level 3? For my level 3, I chose to do a Puffin Forest and just say that I get one of every class out there. And magically, the class that I like best is Dungeon Master, which at level 3 allows me to take level 20 abilities from any class and give it to myself and all the NPCs and villains, so that they can just fight you with a drop of a hat. And I know all my players are really excited when I do that. Notice I said villains, not allies. You know.
Yeah.
That's a pro.
It started with NPCs.
Pro tip for all the DMs out there: players really enjoy it when you give the villains abilities and not allies. And that dead silence you hear is about what the players at your own table are going to do, because they're either going to throw the Doritos at you, or they're going to cry foul, and that would really be a foul. So that's my way of dry humor.
And confirm, my own players love it when I do that.
Mm-hmm. I'm not bringing another mustache in for your character.
Such a good mustache, though.
It is a good mustache. You know, I like the other mustache. Another one of Kitty's characters had a mustache, and as she pulled it, it twanged back into shape. Maybe there will be a mustache. Who knows? It really depends on the players.
I'm here for the lulz.
Our players
What
drive
is it,
the
a
story.
magical mustache?
The magical mustache riding through the sky.
What is your legendary magic item? My legendary magic item is a mustache.
One of the things that when I say it's a player-driven story, and being an Ebberon-esque styled game, you'll notice many differences from Keith Baker's Ebberon, which, God bless you, love you, Keith Baker, huge shout out. He always rightly uses the phrase, "This is my Ebberon," because you should expect differences in every campaign, and here we have a great many, because the reason I love Ebberon is it was so close to my homebrew campaign for all the way back since the, I don't know what, 70s, 80s, I guess it would be. So there's a lot of bleed over. And as I do, I just kind of mutate whatever I'm doing and give it an Ebberon-esque style. Hence mustaches. Oh, what was I getting at? Yeah, there's tons of magic. That's what I was trying to get at. Roundabout. Tons and tons of magic, which included a magic mustache. So, I think that's kind of a soft enough start. We've given Eric plenty of time to get in here. Our players want to see something exciting, hear something exciting. For those of you that did not notice it or do not remember from last week when we had Katrin on playing Arya, rather than Aria, which sounded very closely, we had to have some correction there after the chat. It's Arya, not Arya, that she plays. And
I'm sorry, I just heard the same thing.
Yeah,
I just keep hearing.
Arya plays Ionia, but Katrin plays Arya, which is actually
Arya?
Yeah, Arya. I like that.
My goodness.
Better. You know, you would have to ask her to change her name to that. Maybe that's the way it's pronounced where you're from. We left off with these players emerging from underneath the ground up into what they appeared to be a jungle. And Arya was part of this band. Benoit had sought her, and the players learned that Benoit and Arya had been part of a group previously, and they knew they needed a group in toto to get out of this underground labyrinth that they had been in, the city of the Haruf. Once they emerged, though, into the daylight, they found themselves in a jungle looking back at this tunnel that led underground to this massive, what could only be described as a set of double vault doors that Benoit had closed behind them, and they had heard other things tumble and lock into place, sealing it once more as ancient magics once again took over. Benoit had secreted something away, unseen and unknown to all the others. Once they emerged, though, into the daylight, their victory is very short-lived, as the sound of horses draws in close around them. It only takes moments. Brock, his character Benoit, has a familiar ring to this, and looking to Arya, you know automatically, Benoit, that she knows what this sound is, who it is, and you're, of course, very familiar. Arya, how would Ionia respond as a fighter, as a soldier, to the sound of horses closing in out of sight? And Lythander, I don't know if this is time to run back inside. Why don't you two give us a little bit of how you would respond?
Ionia is going to immediately draw her pike and put her back against something safe, like a tree or the wall, the side of the rock face that the vault door was like built into, or something like that, something where nothing can be behind her.
I would like to say Lythander saw you pull out your pike, thought that you had a great area to hide behind, hid behind you, and then got squished between you and whatever wall you backed into.
Oh my.
Someone's behind me, so you might get smacked upside the head with the pike when she whips around, because you're somebody behind her and she's avoiding people behind her.
Now, I'm thinking back to your original picture that we had up with the original crew, which showed your character with a spear. Is it a spear or is it a pike that you have?
Pikes are, from my understanding, pikes and spears look basically
so
the same. But on picture, it looks very spear, like whatever it is that
Okay.
I'm wielding.
I just wanted to make sure as far as my understanding and whatnot. So you're
Yeah,
looking for
because
something-
the way I'm picturing it is a pike, not with like some sort of weird axe head or anything. On the, I guess I'm finding lots of pictures with lots of different types of weapon heads, but I'm also finding some that have like a very pointed kind of just end to them. And that's what I have.
Well, that's it. Pikes tend to be when people say pike, especially playing D&D, is they usually tend to have them looking more like a halberd, something with that axe head at the top, which is why I asked the question. Once you started using the term pike, I'm like, wait a minute, I had pictured the spear. So that way our viewers, our listeners will also be thinking the same thing. Well, you say pike and different visuals come out. So they at least now have an understanding. While it may be a heavier spear, it's definitely just a pointed weapon like a spear, not with a blade on it. Spear tip. Perfect. So we have Lythander hiding behind. We have Ionia getting ready for battle. And of course, Benoit, who appears unconcerned as these 5 horses with tall riders sitting in the saddle ride in and immediately come up. They are elves, and most of them look incredibly rugged. 2 of them are bare-chested, similar to Benoit himself. Well, wait, is Benoit bare-chested? Am I remembering that correctly, Benoit?
He's not. He's got like a leather vest on.
Ah, very good. Thank you for that correction. Take your first plot point of the evening. I also hand out plot points for when players gently correct me and get me online. So, Benoit is dressed. The most striking individual who rides in at the front is dressed in white armor. It has been dyed. And they are all elvish. The one in front sitting tall in the saddle with this long black hair that kind of curls up around the shoulders. It is pulled tight, comes down into not a ponytail, but almost a fan behind him. Obviously designed that way to touch his shoulders as this individual rides in. Has a bow strung across his back, hops down, and the others space out immediately, and you can see they're watching you and whatnot. And he approaches
Keeping the weapon
Arya.
trained at whoever might be closest to me.
Well, as the individual jumps down from the saddle and approaches the Arya, the elf that you've already met down below, she would be closest because you said you were backing up towards, if I understand, the entrance, right?
Mm-hmm.
That you just emerged from. Exit, entrance, I guess it really depends on which way you're going, because you had backed up there. They've ridden in, gotten close.
I noticed her battle readiness standing back there and kind of turn towards her and be like, there'll be no need for that.
These allies of yours?
Not so much, but we won't be in battle today.
We don't know that. I say keep the pike up.
And as he says that, you actually catch something that this individual in white armor who seems to know Arya directly and wraps her up, literally lifting her off the ground in this tremendous hug, never once acknowledges the massive Goliath or the massive Warforged. And the Warforged stands at the ready too, Claymore. Watching all of you for your cues, because usually Claymore and Ionia and Lythander have a background. But he's also used to kind of like being in the front and taking a lot of battles, which explains why he looks pieced back together. The individual that's jumped off the horse wraps her up, and immediately she goes, "Really? Really? You can put me down now." And he goes, "Arya," he goes, "I didn't expect you to come here. I thought I had made it very clear." And she says, "Put me down." You know, and she refers to him as Julin. And she goes, "Put me down, Julin." He says, "I prefer when you call me Dad." And she goes, "Put me down, Julin." And he does, sets her down. And the other elves slowly get off of their horses as well. Nobody appears aggressive in the slightest. And he says, "We must leave now." And Arya actually argues with him for a little bit. And you realize this is a father that has run in to, in his mind, it appears, save his daughter. He says,
Lysander wants to walk up and go, Dad! And hug him too.
do you? Wow. See, this is why DMs don't have to create a story. Your players will do it for you. As Lysander goes running up to wrap her
Okay,
arms
you
around-
might need that pike now.
Oh, this is why I didn't put it down. I was only kind of lowering it when there was hugging going on, and now it's seeming less friendly.
Now, Ionia and Lysander, Ionia especially during the war, knows that from Kyrie, the lands to the south that were taken over by the elves long ago, elves are wild, elves are powerful, elves are savage, and they have ancestor worship. Some of them supposedly inhabited by their ancestors and whatnot, if you believe some of the rumors and whatnot. Lysander, of course, coming from the Blade River over there that exits down at Sharn and whatnot, may or may not have as much experience with elves. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your past, Lysander? Have you ever met, other than Arya here, elves before?
Lysander has never, well, he may have seen an elf or two on the street. He has been in a big city before, but he's never really taken the time to interact with elves. He grew up in a small fishing village that was basically just humans all doing what they can to make ends meet until one day he decided it was time for him to leave home, and he left home, and he has been adventuring around ever since. So only in passing has he probably ever seen an elf.
Okay. So you haven't
As
seen...
Lysander passes me to head towards Julian and screams out, Dad, I grasp hold of his wrist and kind of pull him back, and I'm like, I wouldn't advise that.
Well,
I'm gonna make a
that'll be an opposed dexterity roll as Benoit tries to grab onto Lysander and Lysander tries to skate away from it. So we'll see each of your dexterity rolls. If you have any abilities that affect those, of course, click those in there.
Oh no!
And really quick, there's a snatch and a grapple on Lysander, which pulls automatically, because it's a successful grapple, puts your movement at 0, preventing you from wrapping your hands around him. And as you're literally still about 4 or 5 feet away, when literally like Julan does not look at you, but the other individuals that have got down off their horses immediately start moving for weapons, as if you were an attacker coming in.
I want to hug my dad too.
Arya raises an eyebrow at you and says, Dad, allow me to introduce you to my friends and whatnot. And he seems to bristle at the words friends as Arya introduces each of you in turn. She goes, you already know Benoit, who was raised with us. But these individuals, this is Lysander, and she points to the young man in Benoit's, who has your arm up probably above your head with his height. Says, this is Claymore. At which point, immediately, Julan bristles, looking at the Warforged. You don't have to have a high perception of this. He's like, there's a snarl to his lips and whatnot. And he actually makes the comment, he goes, what have I told you about trusting these artificial mercenaries? And then she points back. She kind of ignores her dad, as only daughters seem to be able to do, and points back towards the cave entrance where Ionia stands, is spear at the ready, and she says, that's Ionia.
And that's my friend you were just talking about.
Are you saying that to Arya or Julan or...
The dude.
Okay.
The dude who just insulted the Warforged.
Julan raises his eyebrow and he goes, well, as long as you've had your fun, now, he says to his daughter, he goes, get on the horse. It's time to leave. And Arya looks for a moment and she says, wasn't able to find him here. You had told me that this quest would allow me to obtain the unobtainable. He says, no, What I told you was it was an unobtainable thing that you could find there. He says, I never said you would succeed, and nor did I expect you to run off when I specifically gave you different orders on where to go. And you realize this is a huge father-daughter squabble right now. He says, if you're looking for the card wizard, he goes, then there are other ways to find him, which immediately triggers something for Lythander. Because Lythander, one of the things that you're realizing as these individuals rolled up is that there is a clarity, and it's not just the sun that Ionia, Benoit, Lythander, and Claymore are all experiencing. It's being out from underneath the ground. The spell of that place, which was fogging so much of your memory, is giving you back a clarity, such as Ionia, you have the opportunity to actually remember something, much like those memories that were on display when you were down there. Ionia gains a vision of her standing above herself, having killed herself, and an equal vision of herself actually emerging from this, I don't know if you want to call it a bush or a pod, at a different time, and you can't tell the chronology of which, if one is before or one is the other, but you get this idea that you have fought yourself and whatnot. Benoit, you've actually gained most of your clarity back already, but some of those scenes, like when you had fought Arya previously, that the others had seen on the screens and whatnot, or actually I don't remember if they saw it or not, but it was actually there on the screens, you remember more clearly about when Arya had come to you and the fight over the Overseer and the Haruf. Some of the things that you actually remember were learning now that fight was about the fact that the Haruf had been trapped by the giants. And because you were recognizing all this giantish script down there and whatnot, you were more willing to actually kind of go with the side of the giants. And you were like, well, no, if the giants created this place, and she was very clear, Arya, about the Haruf needing to be trapped down there. So that was something that you gained from a memory. Lythander, as I already mentioned, where you were from, and you were talking about your experiencing and whatnot, you actually know that on the way down here, this is not the entrance where you entered. You actually entered through a rift in the ground, but you know that you had to fight your way through what you could only call as wild halflings that seemed very intent on you being a tasty thing. And when you had said that you've met halflings before and they were really nice, and Lythander had tried talking to them in Lythander's fashion, that in that time they had shown a great despising way towards the halflings that you knew and had called them their weaker cousins. So these are little bits of your memory that each of you has gotten back. Julian's distrust of the Warforged becomes obviously as the disdain in responding to Ionia pours out. He again demands that his daughter get on the horse and physically lifts her on there. Her request again to Benoit, are you coming along, and whatnot. You realize there's not extra horses. He actually plans on her riding. He's going to jump on. Julian plans on riding behind his daughter. And she's like, yeah.
I'm choosing not to. I understand there's a little bit of, not necessarily animosity, but dislike between myself and Julian. And I have other things to do. So I politely declined the invitation to join. I still got Lythander up like this, and I'm like, if you care to join me, you may. I look over at Claymore, same to you. I can't see what the other one's doing behind me. So
Arya continues to demand for her father to at least get them to safety. We can't leave them here. And you hear Julian's response. He goes, we have to be out of here quickly. He goes, those nasty little feral halflings are going to be here soon. He goes, in fact, I think they're already here in the trees.
Looking up at the trees, immediately pointing my pike up at trees, like I'll skewer a halfling that tries to come down at me.
Make a perception roll.
Dad, protect me.
Be perceptive. Be perceptive. Be perceptive.
You're not sure what it is, but you see something moving in the bush, but no, you don't see any halflings.
It's fine, whatever it is. If it tries to come down at me,
he already seems pretty
I'm going to skewer it.
There you go. You actually don't see anything up in the trees. You're very defended over there. A bird flies from one tree to the other as you point your spear at it. Obviously a very smart bird, whatever, because you're pretty distant from it. How about the rest of you? Lythander, you call out for your dad there. You're like, Dad, what about me? Which
I said, Dad, protect me.
Julian continues his disdain, which was for the Warforged and a passive ignoring of the half-giant-ish, half-Goliath, half-elf being. And now it seems to extend towards the human being dangled there. Julian is cold, if anything else. Now jumping onto the saddle behind his daughter. And Arya, I kind of wish, actually, that Katrin, that viewer who we allowed onto the stream, was on, because I'd be like, hey, look, how would your character respond to this? How would your character handle it? That would have been a really good one to have. Hi, everyone. Much excited about playing tonight. Very good. I like that post over there. I'm gonna just roll for her. Let's see. I'm gonna do a roll. Just see what she does. I don't have the dice camera working tonight. Sorry, everybody. Oh, it bounced out. It's a nat 1. So she actually fails arguing with her dad, and in moments, the elven host rides off without you. She is unsuccessful in convincing her father to extend himself for the protection of you all. And now, at that moment, you actually start to see numerous shapes moving in the forest.
As soon as they start to ride out, I start heading the same direction that they're heading. I know we're not going to be able to keep up with them as they're on horseback, but I figure they can at least clear the path.
Your movement is half while you have somebody grappled, unless you choose to...
I've let her go once Julon takes off.
Ah. Your dad is riding away, Lythander.
I mean, like, Ben was following him. Obviously, I'm following him, too.
So you guys are just taking off running full sprint?
Stay with the group. Don't leave me.
I was about to say,
That's not strategic.
Claymore looks to Ionia, and then suddenly you guys are all off at a run behind you. As behind you, there's some jittering and some things that come out, but they don't go towards you. For anybody that looks back, the halflings are more concerned with this cave and immediately start rushing towards it. And some of them start using some spears to pull in rocks as you guys run off after them. Obviously, the horses move quicker. They contain a very tight-knit group, protective, riding forward ahead of you, slowly getting out of sight as you guys proceed through the jungle on your own. The path they leave, though, is very clear. What are your intents overall? Because I'll be able to either advance the story or not, depending upon those.
Stay with the group.
I'm
not the one that led this charge.
I'm trying to head to a closest town, city, anything like that.
Okay.
Get out of the jungle.
And Lythander?
Lythander's just playing follow the leader right now.
With that in mind, because you're heading towards civilization, you want to stay as a group. Making it through the jungle is going to require a few checks. I want each of you in order. I'm going to start with Brock. Brock, you're going to pick the next victim. I want you to make the first check for me, which will just be a nat 20. Actually, you know what? I have a whole percentile thing set up here. So go ahead and give us a percentile roll, which would be a D100 on the screen if you want.
Okay, walk me through how to do that.
Well, you could just type in, /roll space D100, and that would pop it up on the screen.
Roll D space 100?
No space.
/roll space D100.
Slash roll space D100.
And while I rolled a D100 and got an 11.
Wow.
Absolutely. Now, I'm going to let that score. Everybody who watches and knows 5e knows you have, this is actually a good education point for my viewers. That way they don't think I'm being inconsistent. So right there is a standard 5e. That's a fantastic roll for 5e because 5e, this is the only time you're looking at underwords. Underwords. Wow. In other words, if you have a 70% chance, it would be from 0 to 70. If you had a 90% chance, it would be from 0 to 90. I actually like the 5e system of always looking for high numbers and whatnot. So I usually adjust, and higher numbers are going to be better and whatnot, which means if you had a 70% chance, from 0 to 30 would fail. So that being said, nothing happens this time, but higher numbers are better consistently. Brock, who are you picking next?
Let's go with Lythander. Roll it out.
Keep kind of find D100. That's it.
Yep, just slash
Okay.
roll. Higher number, very
Here's
good.
a roll.
Lythander can't help himself.
So as you guys proceed along and whatnot, you guys are able to follow the horse path and whatnot. You guys go throughout the day. The first half of the day is no problems whatsoever, but you do lose sight of them. Following the path is easy. As it gets to be evening, though, Lythander actually breaks out some really good skills. He and Claymore actually seem to work hand in hand. This is my way of like kind of including Claymore in. Kind of works hand in hand with you, Lythander. And because you do, you're able to actually follow the things, and you get some bearings. Brock had wanted Benoit to look for a city. You don't catch that very easily, but it's with Claymore's help, he identifies something. He goes, what we're following is actually an old road, and he points towards the fact that some of the trees here along this path where the horses are moving are much thinner than the boles, B-O-L-E-S, off to the side, the tree trunks. So very good. You're into the middle of the night, which means it's going to be a very difficult time if you're choosing to. Now, you guys could choose to stop and make camp out here in the middle of the jungle. I don't know if any of you even have a tent or anything else, but that'll be up to Ionia at this point, who would be making the next check for me.
I think stopping and creating a fortified point is better than just carrying on shambling through the dark. I don't know about you guys. My dark vision, my dark vision, not so great. So, I mean, we can light torches and stuff, but that'll attract things to us.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should stop for the night.
You know, my dark vision also happens to not be the best. You may have a point, green-haired woman.
I have a bedroll. We can try to find an area that's decently surrounded by trees and set up some rope around the bases of the trees and stuff. So that way if anything tries to sneak up and stop paying attention, maybe it'll trip over the rope and give us like a warning before getting here. So.
I like that idea. You think, woman. I not to call you. I just really like your hair.
Thank you. You know, it took me a little bit of time to decide on green as a color.
Yeah? Like, I want to say, like, it almost moves. It's, like, that vibrant.
It does. It reminds me a lot of, like, leaves on a tree.
How can I help you with the rope?
Well, here's the rope. Make sure it's nice and taut, but kind of try to weave it through, like, the foliage and stuff.
Right.
That way it's hidden.
Right.
Even though I have excellent night vision and can carry on, I decided to remain part of the group and assist them in setting up their camp and even agree to keep watch through the night.
Excellent night vision. You still got to stop and rest. Otherwise, you wind up exhausted by the morning.
Are you guys
Resting is a good thing.
What are you doing for food? Did you bring any food? This has been a full day's journey. What about water? Because you need gallons of water. You need food. What have you chosen to do?
I have rations in a water skin.
And
I also have rations and a water skin.
hey, knock off a day. How about you, Benoit? Did you bring anything?
I have stuff, but I'm not trying to use it. I'm going to save it up. I don't know how long we're going to be in this area before we.
Well, you take exhaustion, levels of exhaustion, when you don't eat or drink the proper levels. Which affects like level 1 of it. At level 6, you die, but at level 1, you have disadvantage on all your rolls. So if you avoid eating and whatnot, eating and drinking, you will be suffering. Just so you know.
Okay.
Totally up to you. If you do choose to eat, knock it off your character sheets. If you don't choose to, take a level of exhaustion. You guys can stand shift throughout the night. One of the beauties is because you've set up this camp and you've defended it well, the wildlings around you, the halflings, which come in close a couple times in the night, are easily scared off. Or at least, if not scared off, let's just say that they choose not to attack what would normally be a defensible target. They don't want to bother wasting it. They're looking for the easy thing right now. You have not started any fires. You have not injured any of the wood. And so by morning when you're packing up, you guys can easily see, checking the surroundings, that there had to be easily a half dozen creatures that have moved in and out at various points, getting close. Do any of you have a tent or bedrolls?
Bedroll, yes.
Bedroll.
Benoit? Do you have
I just climb up in a tree and chill.
okay. Ionia, something that you notice is that your bedroll has cuts at the bottom, like something was pulling on it at one point in the night. You can't tell if it's clawed hand or if it's dagger marks that were stuck into it and appear to have pulled. But you don't recall it having happened at all during the night. So you're okay. In the morning when you pack up again, you'll be working on your next day's food. You travel for about a half a day's journey before you actually reach, and you actually know you've gotten towards a main path, because here, unlike the roads back in Corvair where you were, the continent before coming down south, you actually know that this area where when you had come in, this is very familiar to you. These aren't roads. This is just a well-worn area that numerous individuals and traders go in and out of. You have reached a port city, which you previously have been at, known as Storm Reach. This is an area where numerous denizens from Zendrick come, trade, fight. Adventurers come in from the main continent to loot the spoils of Zendrick, which some of you now, having traveled for a full day away from the I'm watching one of the monsters join the screen right now on Benoit's screen.
Monster.
It's a beautiful dog you have there, Brock. Beautiful dog.
Thank you.
Zendrick is a wild land, a former land of the giants, now overtaken by this jungle. It has a rich history, but it is controlled by wild things, including those halflings, which you are know as the wildlings, and they control much of this continent, and they are not welcoming of individuals such as adventurers who come in here. Your mind has cleared on numerous levels, and yet that is the very reason that Claymore, Lythander, and Ionia came here in the first place. A search for some secret treasure, which, if they choose to share that knowledge, I will leave up to them. I know a little bit of it has to do with the spear that Ionia carries and looking for something very, very similar. But I won't divulge that, or even how much she has divulged to the others yet. However, her friends did bid her and came with her down here. Lythander may have been looking for a little bit of, as we said, that expert treasure hunting. Benoit, we know that you came to be with Arya, searching for that card wizard, shall we say. Not all of you know about the reasons that brought each other here, but you do know the Storm Reach, this port city, this wild city. And one of the reasons you know it, and it's an immediate sound, is the roar of a dinosaur. Outside this city lay what back home in Sharn are often ridden by the halflings, these raptor-looking beasts. And they are held behind walls. And you notice that it's not just a wall, but a pseudo cage at the top to stop them leaping out, these fast clawfoot individuals. Beyond it is a massive wall. It looks like King Kong, 50-foot high. Storm Reach, and there's these gigantic doors that would seemingly allow a massive dinosaur through them, but then smaller doors at the base. Individuals are back and forth, and there are guards aplenty. How do you want to approach this city?
We've been in the city before?
This is actually where you first came in, most of you can remember. In fact, if you want to make a history intelligence check, we can give you more info if you have a specific question, but think if you have a specific question first.
Okay, ignore that then. I guess if we've been there before, because we don't have like a specific treasure map or anything that we were following, right?
You did actually. You I will actually give you this one for free, no roll necessary. You actually secured an individual to help you and accompany you, a guide that brought you out, a particular halfling that you had hired who gave you a map, but you went off map to find this secret lair because Lythander had spoken about card wizards, and they said, well, there's always magic hidden down below. But it was actually Claymore who seemed to be searching for something down here. He said he was ancient mysteries, and the wildlings were very much like Julan against the Warforged. Now, there were some Warforged that are in Stormreach, but very, very few. Unlike Corvair, where while Warforged are obviously outnumbered as a manufactured thing, very few seem to come down to Zendrick unless they're part of an adventuring party ready to pillage. This one halfling, unlike the other wildlings, was more than willing to lead you out here, took you off the beaten path, had shown you a very crude map at different times, and had led you to here. This is where your brain's still a little bit fuzzy. I want you to, each of you, make a history check to see what you remember about this.
Should I use the history check I already rolled or roll another one?
You did make one. Did you have a specific question?
No, that's why I had said ignore it.
Well, if you said ignore it, go ahead and roll a new one. We already got Benoit rolling in. We got Lythander rolling in. And Ionia rolling in. So, Benoit, you weren't part of that. I shouldn't have had you roll. I apologize because you weren't part of their group coming in here. You know, I'll give you something from your time with Arya. Your time with Arya coming in. She was very willing to chat with others, but a little bit of her dad's haughtiness had caused her to, shall we say, care more for the forest than the guide that you were willing to hire. You guys had hired a human guide coming out here, and the human guide had been much more, shall we say, aggressive towards the jungles here. Chopping, hacking, not really caring for it, saying we need to set up defenses. And Arya had led you to abandon that individual when she claimed supposedly that the trees were talking to her, and it is actually how you initially found the entrance, which had looked very similar to the one that you exited from, not necessarily the same one. At least from your mind, you can't quite tell. Yeah, not with that roll, you can't. Yeah, with that roll, it's just low enough that you're not positive. But it was very similar, if not the same. Whereas Lythander, Claymore, and Ionia came in through what they collectively remember as a crack in the ground, a schism that had opened. And supposedly their guide was leading them towards something like that. So what I was getting at was the wildlings are few and far between that trade with Zendrick. They tend to remain in the wild. And he was very much under suspicion. Yet, for whatever reason, you three had chosen to hire him. What was that reason? What had made this individual halfling who was nothing like the halflings of Corvair palatable to all of you? This halfling that seemed to carry what almost looked like a stinger at his side, but wielded it like a dagger. And when I say a stinger, we're not talking about something small. I'm talking about something that is easily 6 inches long like a sword. But there just seemed to be a handle at the end of it.
I don't know about the rest of the group, but to Ionia, she has a very deep respect for nature and kind of the balance of things around her. She's not interested in hacking down trees, and very likely what happened was they had initially, when they had met, somehow this topic had come up when he was discussing with talking with somebody else that he happens to know in the city, and expressing his disdain for people cutting down trees, hacking at things, not being very respectful to nature. And Ionia was very quick to chime in with that because of how much she agrees with it, and it actually put them on a very good ground with each other.
I like.
As for Lythander, he just thought the guy had a funny name, and he enjoyed making fun of the guy for it. And since the guy seemed to have thick skin, Lythander greatly appreciated it.
Bad DM art, but it works for tonight. I am not an artiste. None of you will be ever following me on Twitch or Twitter or anywhere else for my art. Unless Holy Spirit changes something in my life. Alright, and Benoit doesn't get to chime in on this because he wasn't there with that. So, that being said, as you approach Zendrick, how do you think you'll be welcomed? Because they didn't like... I mean, a huge city, obviously. Somebody had to let him in, but general reception was poor.
Well, I mean, it's not as if we went around, like, parading and attacking people and, like, standing on a podium and shouting at people and, like, making a huge scene of ourselves or anything. So I can't imagine that, like, I mean, even having followed him out with a map and stuff out into the wild, I can't imagine that we're on negative terms with anybody here just because we were following a map. So as far as Ionia is concerned, we should be received just fine. I mean, we were already in there, we already have it in, we came out, and now we're coming back from the jungle, so I'm just gonna go up and knock on the gate. Or if there's a guard outside the gate, just approach the gate, whatever. I'm not gonna ignore the guard and knock if there's a guard.
Understood. Of course. Common character knowledge. Every DM is responsible to give you things that your character would know automatically. And your character, again, you're a soldier. I would never do that to you. As your team approaches, Claymore takes a position towards the back as he's used to since the day that he was created. He follows orders. He goes to the front when he's told and whatnot. And while Claymore is now independent, he tends to follow into these routines of what has been his life for a number of years, as each of us does. When you approach the guard at the gate, it immediately becomes apparent that he knows all of you, including Benoit. This is the same individual who usually stands a day shift, who's here, this is his post, and he saw each of you leave at different times. So he's a little puzzled because, for a number of reasons. And he goes, "Oi, really? Where's all the others?" And of course he's referring mainly to Benoit's party, who you went out with a whole group of, was it 4 or 5 individuals? Or was it 6, Benoit?
I believe it was 5.
So, and now you're coming back with just 1, but you have 3 other individuals with you. And he goes, "Wait, you're finding, you're back alive. I guess that's good. I thought you were all dead." Of course, I'm going to lose money for that. And then, of course, he looks puzzled at Lythander. And Lythander, yeah, you gambled with this individual before, and you may have had a lucky streak, because even though you lost at dice, somehow you left with money in your wallet. And this is one of the individuals that you previously gamed with. I don't know, can we see the air quotes? Okay, good. I want to make sure they were actually available on the camera as I do this. I'd probably like adjust the camera down a little bit.
Benoit's kind of wondering if this is some kind of thing they have going on. If there's a lot of guides that take groups to this place and then they don't return, is this something that's well known throughout the city that when these groups go out, they're not going to come back?
Yeah, Benoit, you know that from your history when you were here last time. The jungle kills everybody. And whether it's the dinosaurs in the jungle, whether it's the wildlings, or whether it's the rumors of spirits, and supposedly there's a few dwarves out there, though nobody ever sees dwarves. That's just a rumor and whatnot. Yeah, people don't come back alive from the jungle. Basically, they sell you whatever gear you need. Your adventuring party goes out. Now, occasionally, Corvair will send a big group, and it'll be basically a small army of 20, 40 people, and it'll be an adventuring group with people to carry stuff, and they'll try and go in and mine some dragon shards and other things, find a lost ruin, pillage it, but they always have enough just mercenary guards to stand around them and keep them alive so that the wildlings don't pick them off. How you made it back with just 4 of you, that's kind of epic in itself, even though you're 2 different groups. So you can understand his surprise. Oi, so, you, and he points at Lythander, he goes, my purse went missing.
And Lythander's gonna walk up and like grab his hand and like try to do some sort of handshake on the fly.
You watch this as this human that she's talking to seems somewhat appraised, and immediately tries to kind of pull his hand out because he was pretty angry about the fact that he's sure you stole his wallet, his purse. He's like, "Oi, my money went missing right after we gambled."
Was it that lady who sat on... I told you to be careful with those women, man. They're always after your coin purses.
There was a beautiful brunette there. Lythander's not stupid when he makes up these things. Go ahead and make a persuasion roll. Try and convince him that it was somebody else, not you. Because he's pretty certain it was you. Wow, you start detailing her. You come up with this story about how when she was romancing him and behind him, you're pretty certain that you saw it. Enough that he ends up going, "Son of a gun," and he drops her name. He's like, "Grisabella, I knew she was going to rob me."
I told you, man. I told you. I said, be careful with her. You didn't listen to me.
He thanks you. He's like, "I'm sorry. I thought it was you this whole time." He goes, my brain just really put it on you. And he goes, I'm just so sorry about that. He goes, "I knew it'd be Grisabella. It makes total sense. Like, Grisabella, she's a money-grubbing whore if ever there was one. And I'm going to go after her. So, I just want to thank you. Thank you.
Of course, man. We got to look out for each other as men."
He goes, "Speaking of which," he goes, "I see you got a big man with you now." He goes, You left with the other woman?" He goes, "In fact, she left a message for you." He goes, "She said you'd probably be coming." So he goes, "Let me give you this." And he goes, "I swear I had it and whatnot." And Lythander, it's probably the tube scroll that you just lifted off this guy that he's looking for right now. As he's like looking for this parchment.
Dude, don't worry about it. You can probably find it later.
How much did that girl steal from you? You should really watch yourself.
He goes, "I swear I had it." He goes, "Arya, the elf." He goes, "She came through here yesterday," and he goes, "towards the night, and she said you'd be coming along." And
Oh, it'll be fine. I'm sure it'll turn up. There's nothing to worry about right now, though.
Seems like you might be getting a little absent-minded these days.
He goes, "No." He goes, she gave me money." He goes, you know what? He goes, I'm so sorry. And he reaches in to his thing. He goes, she gave me this platinum piece just to give the note to you. So he goes, I'm sorry. And he hands it over to the big Goliath, not wanting to offend this elvish Goliath thing. And he gives over a solid 10. She had given him a platinum. Freaking more money than he would make in a long time. He goes, I'm a man of honor and I won't be taking your money without, doing what I said I'd do. He goes, I'm so sorry.
Lysander just quietly nodding.
I'll go ahead and take the platinum piece and tell him if he happens to come across the message, come see me and we'll work something out.
Oh, so you're arranging for another party then to be going out? He goes, I'm sure I can find you another friend. He goes, but he goes, I never saw Eric come back. He goes, where's Eric? He went out with you the first time. He goes, that was months ago. He goes, we thought your entire group was dead, but then Arya came back, and then she said, you'd be coming. I figured Eric be with you, and where's Eric?
He didn't make it. Party came back light.
Oh, Eric. We'll be raising a glass to him then. He goes, not that we haven't already raised a glass to all of you numerous times, but he goes, there's a good reason to raise another glass to you tonight. He goes, we'll be seeing you over at the One-Eyed Dragon.
Absolutely. I'm looking to get a little food in my belly and get a little rest.
He goes, that makes sense. You're looking a little bit tired at the moment. He goes, kind of like, when was the last time that you ate?
It's been quite a while.
He goes, well, can't be too long. He goes, looking at your size and your girth, and he kind of emotion like he's going to squeeze your muscles, but doesn't actually touch you. He goes, you look like you're still having a lot of muscle there and whatnot. And he goes, and your friends, you're all decked out. He goes, you don't look very much worse for the harm at all. He goes, in fact, other than,
a little bit of rest and I'll be good as gold.
Well, let me open the gate. And he opens the doors, and you hear the bustle of the city on the other side. You see people moving about back and forth, and you actually see walking past the gate an individual who's on what only could be a triceratops. The triceratops kind of grunts and groans and hoofs as this human woman on its back slaps it slightly with a big old stick, which, man, if it didn't have a thick hide, would have cut right into it. Obviously, it's enough to keep the thing moving as it hoofed and keeps on going, pulling this massive wagon behind it, which is loaded up with what appears to be large stones. You're now into the city of Storm Reach.
As I'm going in, I'm actually gonna stop with this guy at the gate and give him a platinum piece and in exchange and say, since you said that you'll be setting us up with another guide out to the forest and stuff, because I'm going to have to go back out to the jungle. Didn't actually find what I was looking for. Needed to come back for food and resupplies and whatnot. But I'm going to essentially give him back the platinum piece that he thought he had previously, just because I don't know. He thought he had it, and that sucks. But I'm giving it to him in exchange for him setting this group up so he doesn't feel like it's some sort of charity case. He's earning it.
Excellent. He goes, I'd be glad to take it for helping you find another messenger tonight. Somebody that could be a guide and like take you out and bring messages back. Not that many people want to run on their own, but maybe we can find something there for you. Yeah. He goes, money. I like money. Yes. He goes, as long as it's for a job well done. He goes, you can't drink somebody else's money. You can, but you shouldn't. You shouldn't drink other people's money. He goes, but you can drink it as long as you've done a job for it.
Agreed. You're a good man. Solid values. Give him a firm pat on the shoulder as I walk by.
Zen thanks you for it and whatnot, letting you in. Whatnot. So now that you are in the mighty city of Storm Reach, the real question is, what will be your role? Will you be heading back to Corvair now, or will you be looking more for restocking, as Ionia just said, and going back out to the wilds? Or
I'm
is it
picking up
time
a couple
to
extra
split
water
the
skins.
party and let bygones be bygones and let this strange, freakish, 8-foot tall Goliath-looking thing that's not colored like a Goliath? Got kind of ashen skin, but what do you? I don't know. What will you do?
I'm doing some restocking.
I'm heading to the One-Eyed Dragon, getting some food. a little bit of
Lysander
ale,
also,
and looking for a room to crash out in.
So you guys are splitting up. That's it. Bye. See ya.
Apparently.
Lysander's also gonna head to the One-Eyed Dragon and see about restocking his coin purse a little.
Okay, so Benoit is not on his own. Benoit has the little Lythander with him, but it's Ionia that actually splits off on her own. But Claymore is going to go with Ionia, just because those two have a little bit of a shared some combat time. I don't recall. I don't have Eric's notes in front of me about the army. It was one of my questions that I wanted to clarify. Do you happen to remember? Was he part of the Kyrian army or was he part of another nation?
I think he was part of a different nation from me.
It was Brelin then. Okay, he was part of the Brelish Empire. I couldn't remember because I knew you were Kyrie, and I think he was the Brelish Empire then. Okay, so he's gonna go off with you. Two soldiers walking next to each other, and then we're gonna have you two head over to the One-Eyed Dragon, which happens to be closed for the morning, but it's the perfect place to start because right near it are some of the street vendors hawking fresh cooked meat as well as some veggies for the morning and whatnot. The meat comes in two different varieties: small little things on kebabs, which are tiny little bits of meat, and big old honking slabs that have been cut and then rolled with cheeses and spices put inside of them. So instead of a hot dog, it's a meat roll log that comes wrapped up usually in a leaf from the jungle, and edible leaf and whatnot. So you get kind of this hot wrap, or you can get a kebab with little bits of meat. You've been here before, so you're still not sure what the heck they're cooked out of, but the Goliath has a little bit of wisdom on this one because of your background. Something you do know is that big chunks of meat, and it's just kind of a common sense thing that Lythander, who's been here before, didn't catch on to.
Common sense isn't Lythander's forte.
Bingo. God bless. Take a plot point. Benoit, you know that, and this is going to sound overly simplistic, you can take of it what you will. Big meat has to come from a big animal. You can have little bits cut off the bone left over, which might be where they make these kebabs from, but obviously the little pieces of meat don't have to come from a big animal. No. Just something that Benoit knows. May influence what you eat, may not.
So is he assuming that it's from some of these dinosaurs?
It very much could be. Yeah, that would make some good sense. Absolutely. You haven't seen cattle and other things that you know humans are very fond of domesticating animals just for food. Your background with the elves includes just as much eating of veggies as it does animals, but they're very big on the hunt and the kill. So whereas humans, you understand it now from your few interactions and whatnot, are more than willing to domesticate things and put them in cages like you saw with the dinosaurs out there. So it could be that this is dinosaur meat.
I decided to try one. It tastes pretty good, so I ordered two more.
Okay, so which one are you trying? The kebabs or the
A
rolls?
large wrap.
Large wrap. The wrap is excellent. Satisfies your appetite, fills you up, and actually removes your hunger, so you no longer have disadvantage. Normally that would come back at the end of a long rest, but I'm enjoying this right now, just fudging things a little bit. You crave your hunger pangs as well, but the wrap that you're eating also gives you, and you can roll for this, 1d4 temporary hit points. It's a specialty of this individual. How about you, Kitty? What are you doing?
Lythander is, well, as stated, Lythander is going to be trying to obtain some money to eat tonight. Go find somebody who looks drunk. Find some easy pickings.
So, while Benoit is still eating, he turns around at one point and Lythander is gone, having said nothing. Benoit, you find yourself on your own. Ionia has gone off in her direction, and obviously Lythander too. Lythander came with you, found it locked, but is gone. Lythander, you can make an investigation roll and you have advantage at this because of your background into finding a game. And then Ionia, what are you looking for your search? You said you wanted to restock.
So I was gonna pick up some extra water skins, get another ration, and pick up a tent in case of like weather and stuff.
Storm Reach is glad to serve. Oh, please, by all means, take our wares in there. However, one thing that they do know is that there's no other place to buy stuff once you're in the jungle, so they take great advantage of that, selling the very best gear at 10 times the price. Because they're like, if you're stupid enough to come here and you need it, we're going to take every bit of advantage of that. So you can find any gear that you need from that player's handbook going out, and they have it all. It's really good, but it's 10 times the price. Because
including the food?
No, they're fine with food because they've got stiff competition with each other. Anybody can go out to the jungle and hunt. There's lots of live game out there. So, yeah, that's all normal. I'm talking about gear. If you need tents, if you need bedrolls, if you need rations to go, because rations are actually preserved meat and whatnot. You can't just go out and hunt preserved meat.
No, right, but
so they charge you 10 times the price. Now, you can still haggle and stuff. And we can do that, but of course, then they might fight back and go even higher. Who knows?
I'll try and haggle with them.
Because they, like most people in a culture, while they're all willing to undercut each other, they also know that undercutting too far lowers everybody's prices. So they all agree, without saying a word, to keep it right up here.
I'm going to try and haggle with them, though.
Okay. I'll allow you to make a persuasion roll. What's the first thing that you want to haggle on? Give me general things like gear, such as bedrolls and things, or food.
It was literally just water skin, rations, and tent. That was all I was getting.
All one roll, and we'll see how well you do. I'm going to roll against you. And depending on who gets higher, we'll give a percentage. I like that way, so you could probably get up to 25%, depending on if I roll really bad. I haven't looked at yours yet. I have now made my roll. And you got a 21, which gives you a 10% discount. So it's only 9 times the normal price. I guess that would be. And then we'll cut back over to Benoit. Benoit, feeling satisfied having eaten now 2 extras of these things, 3 of them. You wolf them down. You've gained your up to 1d4 hit points, which I don't see a roll up there. You didn't roll for it.
All right, / roll, space.
D4.
D4. Yep. Man, what's up with my rolls tonight?
So on top of your regular hit points, you have 2 temporary hit points on top of your sheet. That's within the average. That's pretty good. What do you want to focus on now that Lythander has abandoned you?
Well, the plan was to find a place to relax and maybe sleep the night away.
It's still early. You guys got up and you finished your adventure getting here, so it's probably maybe lunchtime.
Oh, well, let's go take a walk around the city and see what we can find.
You just want to find a flop house and go crash, because then you'll be off cycle for tonight.
Nah, we'll take a walk around the city.
Okay, what exactly are you going to be focused on? Looking for fights? Are you looking for adventurers? Are you looking for information on
entertainment?
Entertainment. What does a half elf, half Goliath consider entertainment?
I've been in a dungeon for quite some time, so.
Take a plot point. You have no idea how long you've been down there because you're wise enough to know you've been remade numerous times. Now, on the positive side, Zen remembered you, but he also made a comment that it was a long, long time ago that you guys set out. One of the first bits of information you find out is that you've been gone while you as a person know you've been down there for at least 3 or 4 weeks. It's been 4 months that you've been gone. 5 months if we consider travel time, so it's got to be 5 months you've been gone.
Quite a bit of time.
Yeah. For you have memories of a few weeks and whatnot, being down there, and there was no sunlight, so it's kind of wonky, but you're like, 5 months? You're like, I can remember a month of travel time searching around, but it couldn't have been that long down there. Entertainment-wise, is very easy. There are street individuals here willing to play music for money and coin, as well as that. And I'm going to cut away from you for a moment and jump over to Lythander, because part of his entertainment is actually going past those things on the street, talking to a few other individuals, and pretty soon he finds a game of dice. These bone dice have been carved, and they've got some cool skulls in them and whatnot. And these individuals are more than willing to play dice with you.
Oh, Lysander is good on playing dice. He doesn't really want to, but is it cool if he watches?
Yeah, there's a group of individuals around there, so you're watching some of the dice action going. You can't get really too close because, again, usually they they kneel down like you see to kind of roll, and then there's cheering and people move and whatnot. Betting kind of goes. There's side bets, but most of the time they're just kind of putting some stuff in the middle. Individuals, putting down their money, what they're going to bet and whatnot, and then of course, you might get back depending on who wins and whatnot, who you're putting the pile into. They'll call out what they're betting, put it down near the pile, like 2 gold or whatnot, and then the loser's money gets pulled over, and then you can get double your money back, usually.
Right. Lysander would like to, since there's a small group around and all of their attention is focused on the bone dice and not, like, their pockets, if his hands just slipped in there and took some money, he doesn't think anybody would notice.
Well, make a perception roll to find a hopefully easy target, and then you're automatically going to follow that up, because either way you think it's an easy target. I just want to know whether or not you did. Okay? And now I would like you to make a sleight of hand check, please, as you attempt to pick pockets. Moments later, you actually have a small figurine that you picked out. You thought it was going to be a small money pouch, but it's a small figurine as you dipped your fingers into the money pouch and pulled out this figure of what looks like a man and a woman carved of what appears to be heavy black, possibly wood, might be stone, but it doesn't feel cold like stone. Feels the temperature of what you would think of wood, so it might have been carved by hand. It's a little bit rough. Man, woman, and there appears to be a child with it too.
So a small figurine of a family?
Yep. Man, woman, and child.
Wonderful. Lysander's just gonna, transfer it from their pocket to his pocket and keep going.
You just took the statues of this man's dead family. How bad do you
Dead or
feel?
alive? That's like keeping like a photograph in your wallet. You just took his photograph of his family.
And
It has no value except like sentiment and maybe some
if-
crazy old voodoo witch doctor wants it.
And if this guy ends up like the next day crying about it, Lysander can look like a philanthropist who found it on the street and gave it to him, winning goodwill.
Just like Lythander did with the scroll that Lythander found. Oh, look, it's right here on the ground. Oh, no, never mind. You'll find it.
Listen, everything in its time. Time and place.
The Lythander has his first good snatch. You finished up your bargaining over there, Ionia, and you've left the individual feeling really good about making some sales to you. The individual wants to know if you need any maps to treasure locations out there in Storm Reach. He has quite the collection, he tells you, for a discerning eye like yours.
No thanks, I've got the only map that I really need.
Really? But if you're going out there, you need to know where to find these things. And I've got secret lore that I've picked up from various individuals. What is it that you're looking for? How do you know what you need if you don't know what you're looking for? What is it you're looking for? Tell me that.
I'm out here on a very specific quest, and I have the map that I need for that singular objective. I don't need to go after a ton of money in life.
So you've already bought a map for down here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, would you like me to fill in any details that are missing? I could do that for a small fee.
What exactly is a small fee?
Well, it depends on what your map needs. If your map only has 3 or 4 items on it, and I can put 10 on there, maybe we should say, I don't know, 2 silver, an item that I can add to your map to fill in details. And you can tell me when it's good enough, when it's helpful enough.
She'll pull out her map and be like, what kinds of things, they like don't actually put them in yet, just in general, what kinds of things, is there a lot that this map might need? Is there anything like major that you could think would be good for it?
Where did you get this map?
It's the map that you said I had when I said, do I already have a treasure map for this staff that you, or this other pike or spear that you said I was looking for? You said I already have a map for that.
Yep. Okay, so it's that map. The man looks at it, wrinkles his eyebrows a little bit, and says, wait a minute. Wait a minute. This makes no sense. He goes, what on earth is this? He goes, and what is this scribbling over here? And he points at some writing, which, what languages do you speak?
Common and Orcish.
Yeah, you couldn't even understand this writing. This is the language, again, of the other individual you brought out here. And he's looking at it, he goes, what is this? He goes, this makes no sense. He goes, if this, and he starts naming, he goes, and this chicken square, there's no rivers over here. And he starts scratching his head. He goes, the only thing I can make out on this, he goes, is right down here where we are. He goes, but if you're going out, he goes, and I guess I know where the sandy area over here is the oasis, but there's no rivers over this way. And he goes, and what's this whole thing about a giant's head? He goes, this makes no sense. This makes no sense. Which, again, you may recall I said, at some point you got off the beaten track because what you were finding didn't line up correctly, so you had left it. And you can go ahead and, you're beginning to wonder just how valid this map is that you have. That you got from the halfling. Oh, no!
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
I know exactly what that was. That is,
Eric.
One moment.
Oh, yay! We have our last player.
No, you don't.
Oh, now I'm sad.
No, the filler screen just timed out.
Oh, that makes sense.
I thought he was here too.
What do we have in the ways of jokes? Quick. Somebody, anybody.
That would be, Kitty Toes.
What did the tie say to the hat?
How Ty doing?
You go on ahead. I'm gonna hang out here.
That's good.
That's
Oh
funny.
my gosh, yes.
So what happened there was, we use OBS and we divide up the screen to get everything to fit properly. And when I don't have a player in here, I have to log in an extra camera so that everything fits correctly. And I have a separate computer logged in that way, and I ran the computer on batteries, forgetting to plug it in.
Oops.
So it just, the battery went dead, and with it, of course, the login went, and so suddenly all our screens shifted. Making me feel
We're
bad.
shifting them back.
But I got to log in really quick again and make all that happen.
Is there a specific role that you wanted me to make on thinking about my map? You just said I was wondering about the validity of it, and you sounded like you were going to tell me to make a roll. If not, that's fine. I was
actually
like...
just giving it to you for free. That
Oh.
your character is a soldier. You've worked with maps before. You already had questions, as I said, about the fact that going off the map it didn't make sense, and now you have somebody here who's talking about maps and using his cartography, and you're just kind of... it's my responsibility to give you what would be obvious to your character. Very rarely will that be misleading. Usually that will always be something that your character understands to be true. Sometimes we understand wrongly, yes. But in this case, I'm connecting the dots that your character would have automatically. You're pretty sure you got... What you take from that, why the map of the guy would be false, is up to you. That's totally up to you. Why would a guide have a false map? Maybe that's a better question for you.
because it was a trap.
Oh, see, now that sounds like that might be a...
Dun, dun, dun.
Maybe want to find the guy that sold you that map and get a little retribution.
So, how much would a new map cost?
Says, well, now that I know that, this one's so much junk, he goes, maps, depends on how much detail you want, depends on what you're looking for. You haven't even told me that yet. Once I know what you're looking for, then,
I'm looking for a spear that looks a lot like this. But it's different. It's somewhere on this island. And...
Island? What are you talking about? You're on the continent.
Yes.
Much, much bigger than an island. You've only seen the barest edge.
Significantly bigger than an island, yes.
I'm sorry, I'm actually logging in to try to fix the cameras for all of our viewers.
Then in the 5 seconds that we have in between while you get that figured out, big shout out to Iced Tea. Big shout out to Iced Tea Cakes, who has been interacting with all of us in the chat. It means a lot.
It does. Does that mean we need to give Iced Tea Cakes a inspiration to give out to whoever he wants tonight? There you go. Iced Tea Cakes has an inspiration that he may drop on anybody.
He or she.
Whenever he or she. Yep, that is true. I should not assume that Iced Tea Cakes identifies as a male or a female. You might identify as a Warforged. So therefore, Iced Tea Cakes, you may choose whether to be called he, she, it, whatever you like, and you have an inspiration to give. Enjoy. Okay, I think we've got a camera back in. We just got to put people in the right place now because, of course, that just shifted everybody.
Oh no, now I disappeared.
Yes. And let me go to studio mode, change this over. Boop, boop, boop. Boop, 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 boop.
Okay, dumb question. Where's this chat that everybody's talking about?
It's on Twitch. I can send you a link to the pop-out.
The one I didn't have open.
It's fine. I'm putting a link to the pop-out in the Discord because I usually just keep it popped out in a side column on my other monitor over here because then I can watch chat go by and have Roll20 open.
There we go. I think that puts everybody in the right spot again. Yeah, that works.
You just say who you want to give it to, Iced Tea Cakes. Like if you want Benoit Brock to have the inspiration, or you want Kitty Doe to have it, or you want me to have it, you can just say, hey, you've got inspiration.
Yeah, basically what I try to do is I like giving our viewers and whatnot participation therein. Like, we're thankful for having you here, and I want to reward that every chance I get. So there's your reward. Okay. So now cutting back, sorry for that little break while I had to fix the cameras. Lythander, make your next roll. Perception, sleight of hand.
All right. Lythander's favorite game to play, the Will I Get Caught Today?
Well, that's it. And again, you're standing here. You're not stupid enough to just go from one pocket to the next. You're taking time. You're identifying people. You're also cheering on the game. You're trying to obfuscate what you're doing so that people don't realize you're just there robbing them. So there's a few different things going on. So you make, you sure you've got your next target. This one's a really good one. You're pretty sure what you're going for this time is a nice necklace because you can see the bulge underneath, and it's one of the individuals because he keeps bending down to add money to the pot, and he's standing back up, but he watches his thing pretty close, and so you're figuring you're gonna do the old pat on the back shrug and maybe snip, cut a cord real quick and get the gem to either fall out when he's bending over and whatnot, and sure enough you do a really quick snip with your dagger. And as he's bending down, and you can see the necklace kind of fall into his shirt, and as he stands up, it just falls out the bottom, and it only requires you a quick dexterity roll. You were very quick at cutting it. Now you just got to make a dexterity roll, or
I'm gonna use a luck and do that again.
Okay, before you do it.
Oh.
Okay, never mind. All right, so you make a quick thing. You bounce down, you pick it up and whatnot, and you pocket it away.
And that was just a necklace. anything specific about it that I should write down, or am I good?
Yes, it turns out not to be a gem necklace. It is a
Okay.
rope necklace with a totem carved on it.
Rope necklace
With totem.
card.
Benoit, cutting back over to you before I jump back to Ionia, because I was spending time with Ionia. You went off to find the entertainment and whatnot.
I did.
As you get near this entertainment, they're actually playing on the shells of animals, what appears to be using bones and making a percussion instrument sound, this individual. And as he's playing along, you notice something about him. At first you thought it was just a very scraggly beggar human, but you realize it's not. What it appears to be, and you've been around elves enough, you can tell the eyes, and you realize that something with the eyebrows and the shape of the eyes, and he's wearing a band covers his ear tips and whatnot. So the individual is trying to disguise the fact that they're an elf, pretending to be more of a human as he's playing these percussion instruments.
I walk over to him and try to strike up a little bit of conversation.
Oh, he's glad to do that because, again, they're always trying to get tips and, he talks to people. And you can tell he's used to doing this because he plays the percussion while he's doing it. And as he does, he actually misses the beat once or twice, talking to you as he stares at your head, clearly noticing your pointed ears. He doesn't make a comment on them.
Tried to engage him with some questioning to maybe get a little bit of his background, maybe try to get him to give up why he's apparently hiding, something along those lines.
Make a persuasion roll. Let's see if you can get him to pry his tongue. Yeah, he's very, as soon as he realizes you're doing it, he's kind of cold and abrupt about answering you, and he's like, oh no, he goes, my past here, and you can see he's actually trying to imitate some of the accent from this area. He's like, oh, we've all got past, and you probe again, and he's like, no, he goes, I left all that behind me long ago, and you probe a third and a fourth time, really trying to get him, and he's like, nope, he's shut down cold on this one. He's like, my past is my past, and now I'm just living here.
Fair enough. I get it. I understand the whole having things we want to leave behind and kind of forget about and hope others forget about. So I apologize if he felt that I was intruding too much. Flip him a couple coins for his time and walk off. Do what?
How much are you tipping him?
Um,
You notice there's coppers in there and a couple silver.
I'll throw a couple silver in there.
Throwing a couple silver, so it's a good day for him. He thanks you, and because you apologize and you did it that way, he thanks you in Elvish.
I tell him you're welcome in Elvish.
Okay, make a good inroad there. Aria, going back to your, wow, that mustache is getting bigger and more fancy. Ionia, you're speaking about the maps, and he wants to know, you're looking for something specifically to deal with your pike or something like that. And he goes, oh, well, he goes, I imagine there's a lot of various adventurers. There was a Morgrave University that came through here not too long ago, and, they have all sorts of weapons, and I can tell you where they were headed. I sold them a map, and I'm sure many of them had weapons like that. But, if you just want a fancy weapon like that, he goes, they sell a bunch of things like that around here. He goes, you could just talk to some of the individuals.
No, it's a very specific one that I'm looking for. And if you don't know where it might be on the island, if you've never heard lore about it or anything, it's not something I'm...
Well, tell me a little bit of the lore that you're thinking it might be associated with a place or whatnot. He goes if you told me the sun gods, I'd be sending you to the tower that's been locked for all the millennia since supposedly the land was created long before the jungle ever grew. He goes, tell me a little bit about what it is, and I'll tell you where to find it.
I know it's supposed to be a magical relic that has deep ties to land itself, nature around it. breeze with the trees a lot.
He goes, well, he goes, that, that narrows it down. It would have to be under the ground because you have to remember, like I said, the jungle wasn't always here. Before the apocalypse in ages past, he goes, this land was filled by giants. He goes, we didn't even build the walls around Stormreach. He goes, the walls here were built before us. He goes, we just took it over and started using it. He goes, he goes, if you want something to deal with the land, some ancient magic, he goes, don't be looking at anything on the surface of the land. You're going to have to go deep under it to one of the older civilizations. He goes, and that's where he goes, you really want to be talking not to, any of the local yokels here. He goes, you need someone from the past. He goes, you need someone who knows the ancient areas around here. He goes, what you need is a dwarf.
Where can I get one?
He goes, dwarves aren't just for sale. He goes, you need to have a friend. He goes, we don't do that whole slaving thing. He goes, it's not like we're the wildlings buying people and eating them raw. He goes, the dwarves, he goes, they moved out of the land long ago. They went to Corvair. He goes, that was in the ages past. He goes, but he goes, what you really want is the wisdom. He goes, the question is why they left. He goes, that way, once you know why they left, you might know who here is actually about. He goes, not to say that Stormreach doesn't have any dwarves in it. He goes, but they're from Corvair. He goes, so what you want is me to give you information on the dwarves. He goes, on someone that might have a certain, shall we say, a desire for the history here, the history of the land. And old Billy might just know something about that. He goes, for, shall we say, information like that might be worth, I'm thinking like, 5 gold might be a good number that I could steer you towards somebody who could then help you. Doesn't that sound like a fine thing? No vague map. I give you a name, I give you a street, I lead you right to them.
Right, but 5 gold's pretty steep, especially considering then I'm going to have to go talk to that person, try to get that person's information and whatnot, and I just spent a lot of money at your shop.
You bought some adventuring gear.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the going rate? I even cut you a deal on it. I sit there, I save you money, and now you don't even want to spend any more money with poor Billy.
No, I would like to make this my regular stopping point. I believe in building personal relationships and supporting specific businesses rather than just shopping around. And I understand you've got things marked up because we're
marked up
off somewhere else.
This isn't marked up at all. It costs a lot to get this stuff here. We got no manufacturing facilities. Everything here has to be shipped in from the mainland. That costs money that gets lost when we pay for shipments that go down in the ocean. He goes, we get this stuff in and then we sell it to you at the going rate, and I even cut you a deal. I give you money, food from my family's mouth just to put this adventuring gear in your back, and you're going to go into the jungle and then you die. It's not like the stuff comes back and I can sell it used. You don't see anything used around here. Why? Because everybody dies.
Right, but I don't go into the jungle and die. I go into the jungle and I come back. I've been into the jungle once already and come back. And I intend to do so again.
Well, if you want to sell it back to Billy at a rate, I'll buy some of the stuff back from you at a good rate. And that way you can have rented it. That sounds good, but information doesn't work that way. You got to understand, once we give the information out, how do I know who you're going to sell it to and whatnot? And suddenly poor Billy, once again, is losing all his stuff. So I
Who else would have a desire for this information?
I don't know. Who else might be looking for that staff of yours?
I honestly don't know.
Well, where one comes, often just like the Morgrave University folk. They come down here a lot looking for all the fancy weapons, the history of the past. Why, one guy, Kenneth Armith? I don't know. One of them Kenneth folk, though. They're always looking for them big steely guys. The ones that are kind of like, they're not golems because they don't follow order. Well, I guess they followed orders during the war, but now
Warforged.
Yeah, them things. Always wanting to make war, forging war, hot-tempered. But them Morgrave folk, they seem to think they can find them down here. Kind of stupid if you ask me, because the Warforged all come from Corvair. But looking for the secrets down here and whatnot. But old Billy, he has rumors and whatnot. And if I don't have nowhere to find it for you, I can tell you who might. Just like that staff. I can tell you where there's a good dwarf who knows and loves the history of this place. Tell you all sorts of places underneath the ground. I mean, of course, if you want to save some money, I can go talk to him, but then, it's a little bit of this and that, and maybe, if I send you to my contact, I'm giving you a treasure trove. I'm letting you talk to him direct, get all the information you want. But if you want me to just go and ask about the staff, I could do that. A fancy staff with a point at the top. I don't sell weapons, but I can tell that's a weapon and whatnot. He goes, I could do that for maybe just a gold if you like, and you can come back and visit me tomorrow, and I'll give you whatever he tells me.
I don't know. I would rather meet him, but 5 gold seems like a steep price. I'll give you a gold for the fact that you told me there's a dwarf. You pointed me in the direction that I need to be speaking to dwarves in the underground and stuff. I appreciate your time.
Pah! 1 gold would be just me going and asking him some questions, and you could pay me for my time. Tell you what, you give me 3 questions to ask him, and for a gold, I'll go ask him the questions, and tomorrow you can pick up your answers. Your answers will be based off of how specifically your questions are. Such as right now, you're just telling me you want me to have him ask about one of them weapons that looks like a staff with a big thing at the top, and it has to be associated with the land.
The problem is I don't have specific questions because I don't exactly know. I've kind of just been hearing rumors. I have some kind of general directions, like I knew to come here to this continent and whatnot, but I don't actually know all that much about it. It's kind of this mythical thing, so I can't give you specific questions to take to him. All I could do would potentially be talk to him and sort of lay out these kind of general things and see what he can narrow in on.
Well, obviously it's magical because, honestly, nobody's going to come down here just for something normal. So you're looking for something magical having to do with the land. Do you even know what you want it to do? You said it's got a mythos around us. What kind of myth does it have? What kind of rumors and history do you know about? I mean, does it turn you into an 8-foot-tall cross between 2 different races? Or does it turn you into growing, a mustache of bushes and roses? I don't know. There's all sorts of things out there. What kind of land does it do? Does it make the ground go solid when it's all swampy? Does it grow up trees as big as the walls?
To be honest, I really have no clue what this thing does. I've kind of always had this innate idea of things I'm supposed to be doing, where I'm supposed to be. There's this sort of draw inside me, and I don't know exactly what it does, but I feel like I just need to find it. Like it's this goal that I have in front of me. I need to accomplish this, and I will accomplish it. I'm very positive that I will accomplish this goal, but I don't know exactly what it does.
One of the things that takes your conversation a little time is other people inside, and Billy, of course, when he's got others near him, doesn't really have the conversation out loud in front of you. He kind of honors and keeps your secrets your own, to give you that little bit of respect. I'm going to cut over to Lythander, who has absolutely no respect for people's secrets, and let Lythander, who's there's been some during the gambling, 2 individuals have lost. Things got tense a couple times. The individual on the ground, you've caught on to 2 different things. First of all, the individual on the ground does not keep all his winnings on him. He also doesn't keep it out. He seems to know that if you keep too much money out, it brings a bad thing. He puts it in a pouch. But you also happen to have caught, because you were very watchful, that he hands off what you think actually is one point putting the pouch on his side. There's an individual standing nearby him, and he actually misses his side purposely and puts it into the guy's boot next to him. The whole time he's talking about the dice and keeping the attention over here, he's really subtle about it. And that individual leaves. They come back a little bit later, and they're standing there nearby, and they're actually pretending to bet along with it. So they're acting like a bystander, but you can tell they're working together. So you have an opportunity to try and rob that guy, to rob the guy who's making the money, or scope the crowd again. I'm going to set the DC based off of what you tell me you're looking for, and then I'll have you make a perception roll, and then I'll give you some information before you make your sleight of hand roll.
Why settle at small game? You said occasionally this guy leaves and comes back. Presumably he's emptying out his shoes somewhere, so I need to secretly follow him out and get the big stash.
Okay. I'm going to have you make a performance check instead, because you're going to be following him and trying to act like you're not following him. Okay. I now want you to make a perception roll followed by a... Oh, we're just going to stop there for the moment. You follow this individual up for a little bit, and you can see he's looking behind him a couple times. You follow him up an alley, and you're pretty sure you've seen the doorway that he's gone into. How do you want to handle that? Do you want to follow him into the doorway? He appears to have gone into a building.
Does this building have windows?
It's off of an alley, so right now it just
Okay.
appears to be doorways. No,
Does the doorway have
there are windows higher up, but nothing low.
Does the doorway have a small overhanging roof ceiling to keep like water from coming down onto the door, or coming?
It does not. This is a very tight alleyway, about 4 feet wide.
Does the
filled
door
with
open?
garbage and debris.
Does the door open out, or does it open in?
Inward.
How many plot points for it to open outward?
Well, now that you've already had me answer, you're asking me to change the script so the plot point value goes up. Always make your suggestion first.
That's fine. Never mind.
Let's call it, but this isn't a big thing. Let's just call it 5 plot points.
No, I'm good. Let's see here. How tall is this building?
30 feet. So probably 2 stories, unless the top floor is a cramped attic.
Goodness. Does it have bricks? Is it made out of bricks or?
Yes. Some sort of stone. Not brick per se, but
does it look climbable?
it does. If you've got tools and whatnot, climbing gear,
I do.
then you can absolutely make rolls to climb per normal.
I would like to climb up a small ways, so that way when he leaves, I can maybe sneak myself in when he leaves.
Okay, you don't have to make any roll because this is not a difficult terrain for you as long as you have your climbing gear. You put on your little cat claws and whatnot, and moments later you're up there and you're waiting. You're somewhere up above the doorway. How long do you want to wait? How long are you willing to wait?
15 minutes.
Okay. About 10 minutes into it, the door opens, the individual looks out, and then he scurries back up the alleyway the way he came. You heard the distinct sound of a lock being put into place. Make a perception roll for me. You also heard something after he did the lock, and it sounded like might have been a bar or a deadbolt. But the timing is what caught you because you're pretty sure, looking down at him, that he was already done. And that tells you something else. Your character has enough knowledge, you should be able to put that together.
There's somebody inside.
It would seem that way to your character. It seems like a very good thing. I'll let you think on that for a moment. Cutting back over to Benoit. Benoit, you've just tipped this individual. You've made really good contacts with him and whatnot. You responded to each other in Elvish. You've been with him for a good portion of the day, listening to him. He's just getting ready to pack up now because you've tipped him well and he's got some money to pay for.
I actually hear a commotion going on just down from me. I happen to look over and what appears to be Claymore over there getting into a scuffle with a couple guys over. Apparently they were having an arm wrestling competition or something, and somebody feels that it was unfair. So I head over there to see if I can kind of calm things down, break it apart before it becomes something major.
As you see these individuals, you can't tell if he was just standing outside of a doorway or what, but these other individuals seem to be around him, and a couple of them have started pushing on him. You're not sure if it was arm wrestling or what, but you can see that they've definitely got arms locked now. And he's actually grabbing the one and they're pushing back and forth. And it's 2 guys pushing against his arm and he's got his back against the wall. Do you want to go in there and just automatically try to break it up? What do you want to do?
Oh, yeah, I'm going to step in, try to help him out, and see if I can hopefully defuse the situation.
Verbally, physically, what do you?
Well, physically, kind of pull him off of him, and
So
then
you want to grab one of the two that are against his arm and get them released.
correct.
Okay, make a grapple check. If you're successful, the grapple check is really easy to grab onto them because they're not necessarily fighting you on that. This is a grapple check to actually break them up and move one of them off.
Is that a specific one on here?
Grapple is going to be your for you right now. It's normally athletics, but you have Way of the Grasp, which allows you to use dexterity instead. So whichever one is higher, either acrobatics or athletics to grapple this individual. That's one.
So not dexterity.
Well, dexterity has acrobatics under it, which if you are proficient with acrobatics, gives you your proficiency bonus to add to it. Dexterity on its own would not add your proficiency. So your dexterity at 25, plus you would get your proficiency if you're proficient in acrobatics or athletics, because again you get to choose as Way of the Grasp. At least that's the way I remember it. So either way, you got 28.
Proficiency in both.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. So you're able to break this guy away, and immediately, as you do, the guy's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" and whatnot. And Warforged and Claymore looks over you, and he goes, and he says to them, "My apologies. I know this individual." And he looks at you, and the individual is really angry with you, and he goes, "I'm just greeting some of my Brellish brothers." And you realize these are individuals who previously knew each other, and the scuffle was more of like two friends wrestling like you had to do. And you know this is part of the Goliath tradition, the wrestling and whatnot. These are soldiers greeting one another. Inside the same building that you're outside of, Ionia is working with an individual trying to fight over dickering about a price. So, Arya, how do you want to do this? Do you want to just try and continue to persuade him?
I'm gonna see if I can settle at 4 gold.
Intimidate him. So you want to settle at 4 gold? You don't even have to make a roll. The roll is so low. He actually had a number in mind, and he was willing to go to 4 gold in a heartbeat. He gives you the name and the location of a dwarf that you can go see. It's almost about, you've been here for a few hours with not only finding the gear, but making the contacts with him. You've now fully succeeded in getting him down to the 4 gold. He gives you the name of a dwarf and the street, where to go, and what the color of the door is that you're supposed to look for, and whatnot. It's kind of a little roundabout where to go, but you're pretty sure you can find it. And he tells you if you have any trouble finding it, just come back. He always guarantees his information and whatnot. And as you exit the building now under a new load of gear, you walk out the door to see Benoit wrestling a guy off of 2 other guys that appear to be attacking Claymore. What is your response to that? Benoit has just peeled one guy off.
I'm gonna go peel the other guy off because lay off my friend.
You announce lay off my friend, immediately start grappling. Make a grapple check. It'll be opposed. That's athletics for you. You got a 15. And the other guy, who seems somewhat distracted, I'm giving him disadvantage on it, is distracted long enough, arguing with Benoit and whatnot, when you grab his arm too and peel it off, and Claymore's like, "Whoa, wait a second." And wait a second is actually where we're going to end it for tonight, with you two on him. Lythander figuring out, am I about to break into this place alone? You have some ideas. You can continue to climb up to one of the higher windows if you want. As I said, there's some windows very high up. I had not thought about you originally climbing. You guys are just at this point breaking it up, and we'll be picking up next week with Claymore here, able to respond, choosing combat, choosing honor, or whatnot. I would like to start off. I want to thank everybody for viewing tonight and whatnot. This has been a really fun time. These guys do amazing things. I actually planned on leaving the port and doing other stuff. Just goes to show you, as a DM, don't plan too hard. Let your players have the ball. They'll do something amazing. It sounds like Ionia might be deciding to go back further into Zendrick, the lost continent of the ancients. Benoit has chosen to be with this party, and Kitty Doe is got Lythander doing some amazing things up on a wall with something criminal happening. I want to thank you all for being here tonight. I look forward to seeing you next week. please don't forget that Kitty Doe already tossed out a challenge. She's got a video challenge going on. Is there anything, Aria, that you want to share from your own personal life that these guys should watch for in the upcoming week?
I actually have more homebrew magic items that are going up on my Twitter. I post them not quite every day, but as often as I can. I've got more going up tomorrow, along with some other art projects such as chainmail, dice bags, and whatnot that I make. So that all goes up on my Twitter.
Sweet. How about you, Brock? Anything going on? Other than awesome family experiences, hitting church more often? Anything you want to share with everybody?
All I'm concentrating on this week is getting through finals.
Sweet. Well, I hope you have good luck with finals. I hope the faith of you and your family continues to grow. Please watch our individuals, Kitty and Aria, and everything. I always have a huge to-do list, such as I would love to actually learn art like some of these other people, and I have a Udemy course that I bought like 2 years ago and have never even opened. So in some fantasy dream world, one day I'll be able to open it and learn some art. But other than that, I'll just be grinding away, looking at different possibilities coming up. Feel free and feel encouraged. I did not put it on here. We will be having you can contact any of our players. We have a Discord site where you can ask the players questions about their characters, ask for information, and feel free to give encouragement for what they should be doing in the week coming up. It's 11 o'clock. Do you know where your players are? They're right here on Twitch, waiting to see you next week. Have a great night, everybody. God bless. Have fun.
Good night.
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 Bye.